Sunil sir, can we start? Sunil?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gita, madam.
Good afternoon, one and all. Hope everyone is safe during this pandemic. Welcome to the international webinar of Seshadripuram Evening Degree College. At the outset, I am happy to inform you all that our evening college is going to celebrate its golden jubilee very shortly. On behalf of SED, I congratulate all the stakeholders. Nisarga Mitra, that is Eco Club, in association with Environmental Resource Management, is organizing an international webinar on urban environmental strategies in pandemic period. I now request our beloved principal, Professor N.S. Satish sir, to welcome and introduce all the dignitaries to the international webinar.
Sunil sir, play first college video.
Sure, sir.
Journey begins with a small step, proving this statement true. It all began in 1930 when two women, educational enthusiasts, took up a noble initiative. In the erstwhile posh locality of Seshadripuram, Srimati Anandamma and Srimati Seethamma started a primary school with 20 children. Now, Seshadripuram Educational Trust, under its umbrella, has 36 institutions. It all began with the educational visionary Sri K.M. Nanjappa, the then president of Seshadripuram Educational Trust. In 1971, which has been a landmark in the history of education for the working students by starting Seshadripuram Evening College.
Our college started with the primary objective of imparting formal education to the quality and needy. The college is affiliated to the Bengaluru Central University. Being in the heart of the city, it has an easy reach and connectivity. Its premises comprise of spacious building with good canteen, computerized library, business lab, browsing center, Wi-Fi facility, sports club, thus well equipped for all academic, sports, co-curricular like NSS, NCC, YRC, etc. and extracurricular activities throughout the year. The college organizes orientation program for freshers and guest lecturers to equip them.
As most of us are working in the morning and studying in an evening degree college, it is very facilitative for us to excel in our jobs. Even though we are studying in an evening degree college, we are being provided many state level and national level opportunities to express our talents. Also, many cultural activities are being conducted.
SEDC is engaged in various cultural activities throughout the year. There are numerous committees in the college that perform variedly on their behalf and have a lasting effect on the college, students as well as outsiders.
Our evening degree college believes in the vision to ignite the minds of every student to identify and develop their inner strength, with the mission to promote holistic development of students by offering quality education and making them self-reliant and progressive.
Our college NCC cadets will visit every academic year in Officers Training Academy Chennai and INS Kadamba Naval Base at Karwar. It will motivate our college NCC cadets to join Indian Armed Forces.
Okay. I now request our beloved principal sir, Professor N.S. Satish sir, to welcome and introduce all the dignitaries in attendance to this international webinar.
Thank you, Geeta madam. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Happy noon to one and all. I take this opportunity to welcome you all for the international webinar in association with Environmental Resources Management. At the outset, I would like to introduce Dr. Udupi Krishna, Honorary General Secretary, Seshadripuram Education Trust, who is inaugurating today's international webinar. Sir is a transformational leader with a rare blend of a technologist, educationist, social activist, and humanist. Sir is a recipient of Eminent Engineer Award and prestigious fellowship of Institution of Engineering and Technology UK and World Academy of Productivity Science Canada. In recognition of his dedicated services to the nation, Dr. Krishna has been confirmed with a Presidential Gold Medal, the highest national award given for Red Cross humanitarian work of high order by President of India. On behalf of Seshadripuram Evening Degree College, in his absentia, I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, for this international webinar. Further, I would like to introduce and welcome today's keynote speaker, Arnab Basu. Sir is presently working as a principal consultant at ERM India. He has more than 15 years of experience in strategical advice and overall management of sustainability, safety transformation, industrial and consultation sectors, environment, occupational health and safety, and quality systems. Sir has worked in so many foreign countries and rendered numerous keynote addresses on national and international conferences and published various research papers. On behalf of Seshadripuram Education Trust, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir, for this international webinar. Namaste Mahoshay, a program में अपना के स्वागत हो. Now I would like to welcome today's another eminent keynote speaker, Bonia Luing, consultant, Waste Policy ERM Hong Kong. Madam has so many years of experience in the field of environment, specialized in the waste management, planning and policy. Madam is a recipient of International Ambassador of Plymouth University, Plymouth Award 2014, Mr. and Mrs. Lee Memorial Scholarship, 2012 Dean's List, Plymouth University, and Mr. Chuchetong Scholarship Award. A warm welcome to you, Madam. Namaste, Joshan Hoini. I hope I pronounced properly, Ferun. I am immensely proud to introduce and welcome Shri W.D. Ashok Sir, Honorary Trustee, Seshadripuram Education Trust. Sir holds master degrees in pharmacy, specialized in the field of total parental nutrition. He served at the famous Al-Adin Hospital, Kuwait, over 13 years. Sir is the real strength for all the events of our evening degree college. I welcome you, sir, and I request you to preside over this international webinar. Thank you, sir. I welcome all the office bearers and trustees of Seshadripuram Education Trust and all the principals of our sister institutions, other principals, conveners, HODs, and all the participants who are registered across the globe. I welcome Darapa Kunnur, convener, Nisarga Mitra, Sunil Kumarji, IQSC coordinator, and finally, I welcome our own teaching and administrative faculties to this webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir, for welcoming all. On behalf of all, I welcome our beloved principal, sir, to this international webinar.
Thank you.
Welcome you, sir. Dr. Udupi Krishna, Honorary General Secretary of Seshadripuram Educational Trust, a philanthropist, humanitarian, educationist, and Gandhian, another name for commitment. Due to some reason, sir is unable to join with us live. Sir has sent a video message as the inaugural address in his absentia. I request Sunil sir to play the inaugural address.
Participants, let me at the outset congratulate the principal and staff of Seshadripuram Evening Degree College, Bangalore, for having organized this international webinar on urban environmental strategies in pandemic period, as a part of the internal quality assurance cell initiative of the college, and also as a part of the Nisarga Mitra, that is the eco club that is functioning in the college. And I'm very happy that two well-known environmentalists and authorities on the subject, principal consultant at Environmental Resources Management, Bangalore, Mr. Arnav Basu, and consultant of Waste Policy at ERM Hong Kong, Bonia Leung, are conducting this webinar. I'm sure the deliberations will be very much enriching. I must tell you that the topic is really very, very much relevant to the present situation, particularly the pandemic period. I think somewhere we had to stop and look and then proceed. I think the pandemic has provided us this wonderful opportunity. I think in all spheres of our activity we have seen the greatest degradation, environmental degradation in the past several decades. I think this pandemic period has helped people all over the globe to pause for a while and think about the environment, and particularly those residing in urban areas have to be more sensitive towards our environment. Today we find, due to lockdown everywhere, animals in the forests are now coming into the cities, because when they freely move around on the streets, we know that how much man has been damaging the environment, has been damaging the ecological balance of this planet, and not only that, he has not been allowing the plant kingdom and animal kingdom to really have their space in the globe. And friends, I'm happy that the webinar will be highlighting mostly on the role of government, the state government, the central government, the urban development authority, and we have a number of authorities functioning both deep impact on issues of environment, like the Lake Development Authority, maybe the Bangalore Development Authority itself, and urban development authorities at all cities and at all levels in our country. And more importantly, I feel educational institutions have a very great role to play, particularly in creating awareness, because the basic problem in any environmental strategy is awareness. And I think that part, the education institutions have a very great role to play. Not only that, and it is most of the time, we Indian, particularly in India, we feel that the government has to do much. I do not believe in that, because it's not the government which has the role. It has its role, no doubt, but then the non-governmental organizations have a very key role to play. That means the citizenry has also to wake up and then try to make its contribution in protecting and preserving the environment. And particularly in this regard, we can never overemphasize the role of the citizens. Citizens have a greater role to play. Every individual has a great role to play. I remember our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, once, when he was in Tihar jail during the 1940s, he used to use a neem stick to brush his teeth every day. And once, when he was moving around in the courtyard of the jail, in the courtyard of the jail there was one neem tree, and Gandhi asked one of these co-prisoners to get him a small piece of neem stick for brushing his teeth the next morning. With lot of enthusiasm, the person actually pulled down a branch itself, and Gandhi was greatly pained. See, it is this sense of environmental consciousness that we need to create at the individual level, at the citizenry level, and I think that will go a long way in really protecting and preserving our environment. Friends, we have been abusing, we have been overusing and then misusing our natural resources, be it water, air, or whatever it is, even the land. And therefore, it is this consciousness alone that can bring about a kind of a substantive change in protecting our environment. And I think the two experts who are experts particularly in the urban environmental issues will definitely throw ample a light and then make this webinar a great learning exercise for all the participants. I wish Godspeed. Thank you.
In his absentia, I thank Dr. Udupi Krishna sir for the inaugural address. May I now request Arnab Basu, Principal Consultant ERM, and Bonia Leung, Consultant Waste Policy ERM, Hong Kong, to enlighten us on the topic. Over to you, sir and madam.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Geeta ma'am. I hope you all can hear me. I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, friends, and distinguished dignitaries from Seshadripuram College and different other colleges and reputed institutions and organizations from India. I'd like to thank to all of you to give this opportunity to me and my colleague Bonia. A very special thanks to Mr. Konur for connecting us with this eminent and prestigious engineering college of the city and coming up with this idea of having discussion sessions on urban environmental strategy to deal with pandemic situations. It's a very timely topic, no doubt. I'd like to thank Principal of Seshadri Engineering College, Professor and I was particularly touched upon the fact when Professor spoke, welcomed me in my mother tongue, which is Bengali, and she also probably welcomed Bonia in her mother tongue. So Bonia and I have been working together, but we always speak in English. I never asked her actually what's her mother tongue, what's Mandarin or Cantonese, and I'm sure she also doesn't know what's my mother tongue. In India, we have at least 16 to 18 recognized languages and many more other languages. So I'm particularly honored, actually, Professor, for touching upon us by you welcoming us in our respective mother tongue. As you have rightly said, actually, that and also congratulate Seshadri Engineering College for celebrating your Golden Jubilee in a few weeks' time. It's a great achievement, definitely, as far as Indian academic institutions and the education system is concerned. I congratulate to all of you, all the students and the fellows of this college, that evening colleges are very special, actually. They play a very different and crucial role in Indian education systems, as well as in Indian economy. You all are working in daytime, you have a day job, and besides that, you have taken out time for your academic activities, which otherwise a regular job by itself. So that shows your great enthusiasm and pursue scholastic activity, scholastic career. Along with that, your commitment for educations, your commitment for contributing actually in the knowledge sector of this country. So it's really commendable, and I congratulate and thanks to all of you. So before I get into our core discussion of the day, I'd like to give a brief about our organization, introduction of our organizations. ERM, or Environmental Resources Management. It's a global sustainability consulting firm. We have around 140 offices in 60 countries across the world. And in India itself, we have 5 offices. And I am from Bangalore office. We have around...
Yeah, Nana threw me down yesterday. Today is a piece of cake.
Sunil, please mute
I think
everyone.
somebody is talking.
Sorry, sir.
No problem, no problem. Just request everybody that if you can put yourself on mute, so it will be helpful for all of us to carrying out the discussions. And then, of course, after our sessions, if you have any questions, you can ask to both of us. You can type your questions in the chat box. We'll try to understand based on our limited knowledge and experience what we have. So if I get back to our main discussions, so we are an environmental consulting firm. So we are deeply engaged in giving advisory support, strategic advisory supports to different institutions, government agencies, various range of industrial sectors on how they can improve their environment as well as sustainability performance. And as you know that along with rest of the world, India as a country is now have quite serious commitment to improve overall sustainability of the country. In 2015 Paris Convention, as a country, we decided to be signatory of Paris Conventions and decided to take our in-country target or to reduce rise of temperature, global warming, to combat and battle against climate change. So pretty much we are now the part of the battle against climate change. We have our own internally determined national commitment. We have taken our internal goals along with the international goals. There are 17 goals for sustainable development. For each and every 17 goals, sustainability development goals, we call it SDG, we have our commitment to show. And urban environment plays a very important role as far as our commitment for meeting sustainability goal is concerned. So if you can go to the next slide. So urban environment, when you talk about urban environment, we are basically concerned about the situation of urban environment, the impact of urban environment in these pandemic situations. And this statistics is we are familiar almost every moment actually in our life. Now we are seeing these statistics in any media, whether it's social media, whether it is television, or newspaper, everywhere actually these statistics have flashed. And these statistics are kind of making us scared. These statistics are basically not just giving us an idea that how this pandemic situation is spreading in a very rapid way, but also giving us a message, also impacting our day-to-day activities, and in a way it's impacting our economy in a very large extent. Our academic activities, our day-to-day life, and definitely the very environment where we are living is getting impacted by that. So today, Bonia and I would try to share our thoughts based on our experience of working with environmental strategy and policies at different level, and based on our interaction with different industrial sectors, the thought process we have developed as far as impact on urban environment by this pandemic is concerned. So if we go to the next slide, what do you mean by a good? I think from my end also I can control the slide, right? Yeah. Okay, excellent. I'll do that. So let's focus on the indicators of what do you mean by good urban environment. The indicators of good urban environment are broadly divided into three categories. So how we are managing basic cleanliness and hygiene of our cities and localities where we are residing. So waste disposal is one important aspect of that. So how mature and robust waste management
ಮೇಡಮ್
facility.
ನನ್ಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತಾ ಅನ್ನೋದೇ ಡೌಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನಿರಿ ಮೇಡಮ್.
If you can please put on mute, everybody.
ನೋಡೋಣ ಇರಿ.
Waste disposal facility and a sustainable recycling solutions for whatever waste we are generating are one of the key indicators of urban environment. We will be generating waste, but how we are reducing the generation of waste, reusing waste, and recycling the waste, that's determine that how sustainable our standard of living is. Then the second critical indicator for good urban environment is access to clean water. So we know the most of the diseases are spread through contamination of water. So access to clean water is always considered as a vital indicator of urban environment. And definitely then we have the next crucial indicator is sanitation services. Whether it is accessible to everybody, whether it is scientifically designed and implemented, and the overall maintenance of the sanitation services. So these three key parameters defined the urban environment. Can we, now, as I was talking about the sustainable development goal, which India and many other countries have adopted as part of our battle against climate change. So out of the 17 goals, which every country has adopted and they have their internal commitment for meeting, is to showing the improvement of performance against these goals. If you see the goal 6, which is talking about clean water and sanitations. So that shows the emphasis on how important to maintain clean water and sanitations in order to develop a good urban environment. And there are, of course, there are many other indicators actually to improve your urban to improve your sustainability, to improve the sustainability performance of your country, as well as progressing significantly in this battle against climate change. Now let us look into that how a poor urban environment can affect the general standard of life across the world. So these are some of the research findings of World Health Organizations. It is estimated that 12.6 million people has died so far till the statistics available till 2012 as a result of living or working in an unhealthy environment. So which is nearly 1 in 4 total 1 in 4 total global deaths. So you can see the ratio. So every 1 person out of 4 people across the globe are dying because of living or working in an unhealthy environment. Much higher ratio than this current COVID-19 pandemic situations. So we are quite afraid of COVID-19, right? We have restricted our movement. We have talking about embracing a new normal lifestyle. Economy is seriously affected because of that. But the mortality rate due to poor urban environment, this mortality rate due to COVID-19 is nothing if you compare with mortality rate due to poor urban environment. And these things has been going on for several decades. COVID-19 just, it looks like probably it's just started a couple of years back, and maybe it will be with us for some time. but we have been living urban environmental quality for throughout our lifestyles, and people are dying because of that. So if you consider the environmental risk factors such as air, water, and soil pollution, chemical exposure, climate change, the ultraviolet radiation, in total, these all risk factors are contributing to more than 100 diseases and injuries across the world. Some 827,000 people in low and middle income countries, like developing countries, like country like India and some part of Asia, Africa, South America, some part of Europe, wherever the low middle income countries are there, they die as a result of inadequate water, sanitation, and hygiene each year. Poor quality of water, sanitation, and hygiene represents 60% of the total diarrheal deaths. Poor sanitation is believed to be the main cause in some 432,000 of these deaths. So now, against these statistics, if you put the statistics of death due to COVID-19, you can ignore COVID-19 completely. COVID-19 is nothing. The problem, the death, the threat we are getting for not being able to maintain a healthy urban environment in terms of access to clean water, in terms of good sanitation systems, and in terms of scientific and effective waste management is much, much bigger problem than any pandemic situations, dear friends. And here, let me take this opportunity to emphasize one fact, what Dr. Woody, General Secretary of Seshadripuram Education Trust, mentioned in his keynote address, that definitely defining an urban environment strategy is the responsibility of the government. But inculcating that strategy in our day-to-day life is the responsibilities of the citizens of respective countries. Unless and until we are able to do that, unless and until we are able to inculcate the strategy in our culture, in our practices, in our education systems, more importantly, culture and practices are driven by education systems. We get into education systems from the very beginning of the journey of our life, and then we keep excelling in the education systems. So education systems has a huge responsibility to influence citizens at every stages, and then the citizens' responsibility to inculcate a healthy urban environmental strategy in our lifestyles. Then only we can win this battle. Then only we can fight against climate change. Then only we can think about having an environment, and then only we can reduce that huge mortality rate across globe, especially in the third world countries. So as we progress, I'll talk about how it is related to pandemic situations and how we need to behave. But keep this thing in mind that we have been living since our very birth in a much more life-threatening situations than what we have been experiencing in the last 3-4 months, or maybe from the beginning of 2020. Okay, if I go to the next slide. Now, Boni and I will I'll go by different indicators of urban environment, and we'll try to share our thoughts on how the pandemic is even aggravating these situations. Poor waste management is definitely a threat for urban environment, and the pandemic, this recent pandemic situation across the world, has made it worse, definitely. So we all know that there was prolonged lockdown situation. In India, we had 4 or 5 stages of lockdown, started from middle of March 2020, and now we are gradually talking about unlocking, gradually talking about relaxing the lockdown situations. But what happened during lockdown situations? The waste management systems got hugely disrupted. The recycling services, treatment and disposal facilities suffered due to shortage of workers. most of the cases, these waste management systems in urban areas are managed by unorganized sectors, informal institutions, and huge number of migrant workers work in there. And there are two-pronged impacts on that. Once we restricted movement, so it is not possible actually to reach your waste collection areas, to reach to every household and every municipal dump yard for collection of the waste, which is anyway was a big challenge in country like us, and that became even more critical situations. And of course, there's drastic reductions in availability of workers. I remember in here, when last year, across country, actually, we're talking about a citizenship bill. And when people have started talking about citizenship bill, there are a little bit of panic situation was created among the people who are migrated from other countries, especially a particular community migrated from other countries. There's not much transparency was there, or even transparency was there is not reaching to people actually that who would be affected, who would not be affected, is good for country or bad for country. I'm not getting into that debate. That has become very much political. But what happened, I was reading in a newspaper that for a few weeks, BBMP, our Bangalore Brihat Mahanagarpalika, which is responsible actually waste management in our city, was struggling in collection and disposal of waste. And then they realized that the workers whom they are dependent actually for collection and disposal are actually the people from a different country, belong to a different from a particular community. And they were afraid that probably they will be the victim of citizenship amendment bill. So they decided to leave Bangalore. And the BBMP have no workers to deal with to the waste generated in our cities. So that itself actually suggests that how much we are dependent on in our cities like India on informal workforce for waste management. And this pandemic situation has, now you can imagine actually, then we are officially you're declaring that you're not able to move, officially you are encouraging actually to migrant workers to go back their original hometown, then it's going to be disrupted, waste management systems. Now, another aspect related to waste management, which is triggered by pandemic situations, is the health and safety risk and improper protection of the workers. Primarily because of lack of knowledge, lack of understanding of how waste need to be scientifically segregated, handled, and what are the general health hazards associated with different kind of waste. Cross-contamination and infection in recycling activities is another issue. So when we are collecting waste, the waste are coming from all sources. Waste are coming from healthcare institutes, waste are coming from households. And you know that in household itself, actually the practice of using disinfectant, personal protective equipment to protect ourselves from virus has increased by manifold. So such scenarios have increased the chances of cross-contamination and increase the chances of infection much more in recycling activities. And our unorganized sector workers are primarily involved in collection and disposal of waste. Already they suffer from lack of awareness. Already they do not have enough equipment, personal protective equipment, that definitely are exposed to huge risk. Increased quantities of healthcare and medical system is also another aspect. If we go to the next slide, yes. Now, the second biggest challenge as far as the waste management is concerned is plastic waste. So in today's world, we have already started expressing our concern about plastic waste. We know how plastics are damaging our environment. Plastics are choking our sewage systems. Plastics are non-biodegradable in nature. Single-use plastics is the biggest threat for the environment. Animals, wildlife, human being, everybody is suffering because of that. But this pandemic situation has increased the generation and usage of plastic. It has increased the usage of plastics, and that's why the generation of plastic waste are bound to be increased. So plastic is playing a very key role in protecting people, especially our frontline workers, like healthcare workers, enforcement agencies during these COVID-19 situations, because they're all using plastics to prevent direct contact with anything. Most of the PPEs, personal protective equipments, are made out of plastics. And you are using plastics for wrapping of food items, for our daily groceries, everything, so that we do not need to touch directly those items. So it has become essential to keeping hospitals running and protecting their workers. The demand of plastics, the demand of masks, gloves, gowns, disposable bags are huge. And now the menace which we wanted to get rid of has become an indispensable part of our life. We cannot now just live without plastics, especially during these situations. Now you imagine the amount of impact we are creating on environment, and we do not have any choice because we do not have any options. We do not have any alternatives. If you see that the food industries like restaurants, shops, they're temporarily closed, and government use shelter at home directives, like we all are advised not to go out. So what we are doing, we are ordering foods from outside, we're getting it delivered. And the groceries also where we have ordered online for a longest period of time, especially when we are not allowed to go out. The essential items, actually, we ordered online, or we got those delivered actually at home, at our doorsteps. They're all done by using plastic containers. Usage of disposable utensils have got increased like anything. Even now in Bangalore, a lot of restaurants are open. So if you visit those restaurants, you'll see that they're using disposable utensils because it's much more convenience, and it's a kind of reassurance for the customers that the chance of contamination is less. So recycling industry is already hurting, as we have discussed previously. There is already financial distress for the industry as a result of citywide lockdowns, social distancing measures, and limited operational capacities. In one hand, workers are from the informal economy, especially the waste pickers, and there is increase of generation of plastic waste. So both way, the urban environment, the one key aspects of environment is getting seriously affected because of these pandemic situations. Now go to the next slide. So besides municipal waste, plastic waste, another greater threat as per the waste management situation during pandemic situation is concerned is biomedical waste. So generation of biomedical waste at household is one of the key contributing factors. So far, in a normal situation, the key sources of biomedical waste generation were healthcare facility. And healthcare facility has their proper systems of segregation of waste, disposal of waste, treatment of those waste. There are regulations in these countries. Those things are quite streamlined. But that was not the case in household. Households, generation of biomedical waste of household in normal situation was quite less, but that has increased like anything. Almost daily basis, we are disposing personal protective equipment like nose masks, face masks, and definitely the healthcare facility also it got increased because of the COVID confirmed patients treatment, which is associated with inadequate storage, disposal, and collection facility. Collecting biomedical waste from household is a challenge. As I have told you, that biomedical waste is such a waste that it needs to be collected by following particular requirements, and only few authorized vendors, authorized agencies are allowed to do that. So number of authorized agencies are not, we didn't increase number of authorized agencies because of the pandemic situation, right? Number of authorized agencies are still same, but they have now many collection areas, especially the household. Governments issuing guidelines are saying that biomedical waste which is generated in the household has to be disposed through those authorized vendors, through those authorized agencies. Now, how the limited number of authorized agencies can cover such a huge population of this country? Therefore, the chances of mixing and contamination of different waste streams are there, and that it's happening. So these are the critical issues as far as the biomedical waste, plastic waste, and general solid waste is concerned. Now, if we go to the next slide, here I would invite Bonia to talk about the textile waste related issues in different countries. She has a lot of experience, actually. She's anywhere a waste policy expert. So Bonia, over to you, please.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for everyone for inviting me to this webinar today. It's an absolute honor to be able to share my experience and knowledge with you all. So here, I just want to talk about some statistics due to this COVID-19 pandemic that happened in Bangladesh, which is a country that is very close to India. So you can see on the screen by the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporter Association, as of 29th April 2020, 1,150 factories has been reported to be affected by COVID-19. They may not necessarily be their workers having infected, but there are other implications because of COVID-19 that affected their factories' operation. And there are huge economic loss, and that's been impacted. You can see in the middle, export cancelled or suspended worth 3.18 billion US dollars. 982 pieces of garment has to be cancelled or suspended. And as a result of these, 2.28 million number of workers has been affected just within Bangladesh alone. And I just want to put a more sort of perspective to zoom out of just within Asia, how countries, especially developed countries, their decisions making during this pandemic has affected the supply chain globally. So so recently it's been announced that Zara, the retail fashion store, will be closing down 1,200 of their stores permanently and moving everything online. And that has made a huge impact to the whole fashion industry and also the supply chain that goes behind it. Waste generation from garments that has already been in production or has been completed become waste during this COVID-19 because companies are not willing to pay the manufacturers for the garments that has been made or the garments that has to be suspended. And that's as a direct result, factories would not be able to pay their workers, and it has a huge social implication to people around the world. So yeah, I just want to talk a bit about this and just trying to understand how globally, how we are all interconnected, not just because of this pandemic, but also how the decisions that we make and businesses have a huge impact on supply chain and social lives of people around the world. So back to you, Anna.
Okay, so thank you, Monia, for your perspective on, especially from the textile waste point of view and the effect of pandemic on it. Now, let's focus on the other two aspects of urban environment strategy as far as good urban, healthy urban environment is concerned. As I have told you, that waste is definitely one of the significant indicators, and other two indicators are water quality and sanitations. So let's look back again, the sustainability development goal of India. And as I have told you that out of 17 goals, one goal is on clean water and sanitation. So far we have done fairly well, actually. We have improved. I mean, access to clean water and the sanitation systems is definitely a challenge in our country. There is no denying in that. It's a challenge in any developing countries, for the matter of fact. However, in recent past, we made significant improvement in these particular parameters as far as urban environment is concerned. But now our concern is the post-pandemic situations might push us back a bit as far this particular sustainability development goal and our score in this particular sustainability development goal is concerned. How that can happen, I'll just want to give a brief about it. If you go to the next slide. So let us if we focus on different studies actually which have made which says that there are no clear indications that survival of COVID-19 virus in drinking water or sewage. So it's believed that the presence of COVID-19 virus in in drinking water and sewage is probably short-lived. But the presence of this virus in untreated drinking water cannot be completely ruled out. So far, it has not been detected in drinking water supplies because drinking water supplies are is generally managed well. But if the supplies are untreated, then we cannot rule out. The risk of transmissions of this virus from feces of unaffected person also appears to be low. So in that way, the sanitation systems also may not be huge concern as far as this particular virus, the impact of this particular virus is concerned. But what could happen actually that the infectious COVID-19 virus may be excreted in feces. And even if you do not have any symptom of diarrhea or any other intestinal infections, there could be still presence of this virus in excreted feces. However, we do not have any clear evidence as of now based on the research conducted by World Health Organizations on finding or detection of COVID-19 virus transmission through sewage systems or without any wastewater treatment. The main routes of COVID-19 transmissions is considered as the respiratory droplets and direct contact. So it's not really through water or untreated sewage systems or through excreta of feces. So person who is in close contact with an infected individual definitely is at risk of being exposed to potentially infected by the respiratory droplets. Respiratory droplets so far is considered as the main media of transmissions. Droplets may also land on surfaces where virus could remain viable. That's the immediate environment. The immediate environment of the person who is infected could be the main media for transmissions. However, although there is, if you go to the next slide, please, although there is no evidence to date that COVID-19 virus has been transmitted by sewage systems, but the viral fragments have been found in excreta. And there is of course the potential of other infection diseases from the excreta, may not be due to the virus. Therefore, there is definitely there's a need for treatment of wastewater and sewage systems. So that we'll discuss in detail. But before that, I think the Bonia would share one insight actually on clean urban water quality and sanitation's management point of view.
Yes, so the coronavirus, when it first hit Hong Kong early this year, we started sort of taking up a lot of practices that we have in order to maintain our hygiene and sanitation that we keep up during the time when SARS hit Hong Kong in 2003. And it was found that because at the time we didn't know what this virus was, how it was transmitted, what kind of pathway it would take. So we decided, like most of Hong Kong would be adopting practices that we did during the SARS period to do as much precaution as possible, because they do have similar symptoms, but they are fundamentally quite different. So I just wanted to share with you all a bit of how SARS was the most severe case of SARS in Hong Kong actually happened within a high-rise building. So at the beginning, when SARS hit Hong Kong, there was one person who entered a high-rise building, which majority, I would say 90% of Hong Kong people live in high-rise building that are about more than 5 floors high in height. And later, when we learned more about the science of the virus, we found out that it was actually the lack of water in the U-shaped pipe that actually serves as an important pathway for virus transmission. So when you look at the diagram here, you can actually see that there's over here, there's a dry floor drain. And basically, the virus was able to transmit through the air through that drain because it was not blocked with water. So it was transmitted throughout the building that causes a mass transmission, even though there's no direct contact with other residents within the building. So at the time, everyone was panicked, and people were worried that if it has other way of transmitting. Therefore, at this time when COVID-19 hit Hong Kong, a lot of even the government actually initially advised residents in Hong Kong to make sure that their U-shaped pipe in at their home, including the toilet, the floor, shower, to make sure that it is filled with water, so that there's one less way of the virus transmitting. And of course, there are other ways of SARS to be able to transmit through, like, let's say, through ventilation within the building and also for the vent pipe. But obviously, we know that the science of COVID-19 already said that there needs to be close contact with one another in order to be able to have these disease transmitted. And I just want to talk also a bit about not just the urban water quality and how the sewage system would able to help in preventing disease, but also a sanitation point of view. So in the diagram below, you can see a company called Loop. Basically, they provide reusable package. Is a reusable packaging platform where they help consumable goods companies to sell their products through reusable packaging. So we can see some brands that we all know, like Haagen-Dazs or Nivea. So all these containers are reusable, and customers, they buy this product. After finishing emptying the bottle, they can return it to Loop, and then Loop would be able to provide them with a new product that is filled with whatever they desire. And it was actually quite interesting because during this time we are a bit scared, let's say, to share a lot of things with people, including, public spaces, or even sharing bathroom or other things. So it was actually the CEO of this Loop company who said that it was actually better to have them make sure that their products are clean and keep them sanitized instead of letting the consumer to do the sanitation themselves, because everyone has a different standard for sanitation, right? Maybe some people feel more comfortable um, using just water to clean the containers, but some people prefer to make sure that they use bleach to clean the products, and it really depends. But what's best for the product and the containers itself should be determined by the company that provides it. So it was actually just giving up more of an insight on how sharing economy, so ideas like these, or even when you expand it to different industry like Uber, Airbnb, they are all part of the sharing economy, and how these businesses can ensure hygiene standard and sanitation can be done when the product or the space or their operation is fully sanitized, when there is a growing trend on this sharing economy, and there will be more and more products and more space, more utilities that will join into this share economy. And how do we maintain or uplift the sanitation standard that is required would be a very interesting topic to think about for the future.
Okay, thank you, Monia. So I saw that there are the few questions actually in the chat box. People are asking that what should kind of strategy framework an urban government or national government should adopt to deal with the post-pandemic, to deal with the pandemic situations rather. So there's nothing, I personally believe that there's nothing called post-pandemic situation as such, because once the outbreak has happens, the disease is going to be with us for maybe forever. We do not know. Maybe the impact will be less. Maybe we have vaccine. We may not have vaccine. Maybe the number of infected people will be less. Maybe the mortality will be less over a period of time. But the disease is not going to get eradicated completely. So that if we follow the trend of most of the infectious disease, actually, you call it dengue, you call it malaria, you call it HIV/AIDS. No, I still want to be this slide. HIV or any other viral disease, even whatever the previous viral disease we have, H1N1, swine flu, those are very much there. This virus is also going to be with us. Only probably we'll have certain remedies, maybe some medicines, maybe some vaccines, and more importantly, a hygienic lifestyles. There are two things probably we need actually to deal with this. One is our own immunity and fitness, and the second thing is adopting certain practices in our day-to-day life, the way of living in a hygienic way. And that can be supported by certain urban environment strategy, where government has to play a role to define this strategy, and we as citizens has the bigger role to follow those strategies. So let's get into those strategies, actually, based on the research and done by different organizations like WHO, like World Economic Forum, like our own NCDC, National Center for Disease Control, and different other national and international organizations. So waste management, as I have told you, that waste management sector is probably one of the most impacted sector as far as this pandemic situation is concerned. And that needs some focused strategy and framework development and revamping. So we first of all have to ensure continuity of these services. This is one of the most important sanitary barriers to prevent dissemination of illness and diseases. It's very important to recall that the continuity of the waste service is not only for municipal waste, but also for the hazardous industrial and healthcare waste. So we cannot just afford disruption of this service with the excuse that this is managed by unorganized sector, informal sectors. Whatever the equipment we need to provide, we need to provide. Whatever the protections and assurance to the workers we need to give that they're safe to work in these sectors, we need to give. Whatever the infrastructure development we need to do, in the next slide, we see a graphics actually that how the framework can be designed, but not now. Later, we'll go to the next slide. These things we have to ensure. The continuity and continued functionality of recycling is going to be an important aspect during these situations and after the crisis is over. It's also important to recognize the role of waste workers and services as an essential component, and we have to take care of them. Each municipality, local authority has to develop a contingency plan. We never know, this kind of situation may again arise in our life, in our lifetime. So how we're going to do that? These times we are taken by surprise. We're not really ready for it. But now we know such situation can happen. So their waste management sector should have their own contingency development plan to ensure that the service is uninterrupted. There's no extra health risks which are added at the top of the pandemics, like contaminations of infections, mixing of wastes because of those. Contingency plans should involve alternative solutions for personnel, vehicles, infectious waste, accumulation of waste, typical washing facilities, washing activities, disinfection and street cleaning services. Now we go to the next slide. There's a graphics actually which says that how a municipal waste management framework should look like. So the general adaptation of municipal waste system should consider household waste, street containers cleaning, the staff who are working in the waste sectors, and the awareness building program for the citizens to communication, then other media, and there should be availability of on-demand services to ensure that in a pandemic situation, the waste collections systems is not interrupted at any point of time. And here we have to remember, when we talk about the household waste, there are two kinds of household. So one is households, which is basically the normal households, and another set of households will be there where there are confirmed cases of COVID-19 positive cases. So these two systems should have different kind of infrastructure as far as collection and segregation of waste is concerned. So typically, a normal household will have recyclable bio-waste and the other kind of waste. The household with confirmed COVID-19 cases will have mixed waste and the other kind of biomedical waste. So what kind of facilities we are providing for sorting and what kind of equipment we are using, for example, masks, gloves, tissues and disposable clothes will be collected with mixed waste. And in some cases, tissues and handkerchiefs will be found with biomedical wastes. So the waste collectors, the workers should be trained to identify, and there should be different kind of waste segregation systems to segregate waste at the source of generation itself. And then the other aspects related to transportation of waste and the treatment of the wastes. So once the waste are segregated at the household level and at the institutional level, the transportations, the maintaining actually the preventing of mixing of such wastes and their proper treatment become much more easy, and the implementation of framework or strategy become much more easy. Now if we go to the next slide, the plastic waste, as we have told you that globally we have considered plastic as a menace as far as the environment is concerned, and now this pandemic situation has proved that plastic is still an indispensable element in our society, which is playing a very vital role in preventing contacts. So as a part of our post-pandemic urban environment strategy, we need to think about how shopping and bulk stores or shops with refill models are significantly reducing plastic usage. We cannot just focus on small businesses actually. We have to focus on this area where the usage of plastic is huge. Using reusable shopping bags we have to advocate for those things. We have to generate awareness, and the local governments have to play a role in that in terms of formulating regulations. They have to reconsider lifting restrictions on currently there's that single-use plastics usage restrictions is lifted in some states of our country. So we have to get it back again as soon as possible. Sooner the better. Responsibility of discarding disposable products like masks and gloves through formal waste collection systems has to be imposed rather than just littering here and there. And we also have to encourage people and have to educate people in reusing of such masks and gloves as far as medically advised or scientifically possible. It's not just one time we use and throw it in the next day. Everything can be reused for a certain period of time, and we have to get those informations. Actually, we have to percolate those information at every nook and corners of the society. We have to advocate business to uphold commitments on reducing plastics waste overall, encourage them not to lose sight on the longer term sustainability targets. We have to repeatedly talking about our sustainability targets at every, especially for the institutions. Institutions has that kind of maturity, whether it's academic institutions or business institutions, manufacturing institutions. They have such kind of maturity and ability to adopt any longer term target. We have to emphasize on that. We have to embrace and help in popularizing the concept of circular economy, as I have said at the beginning, which will keep our plastic waste out of our waterways. Then the concept of reuse, reduce, and recycling has to be brought into our society once again. So we go to the next slide. I would talk about the biomedical waste. So this is definitely going to be a challenge, actually, the waste which is generated from the healthcare waste. Because healthcare wastes are anyway more dangerous, more threat actually as far as urban environment is concerned. And now we have a pandemic situation in hand. Anyway, the generation of waste is much higher than it used to be. So best practices for safe managing healthcare waste has to be followed. That's how the strategy has to be defined. A framework has to be defined, which should include assigning responsibilities and sufficient human and material resources to segregate and dispose of waste safely. Although as I have mentioned, that there is no evidence that direct unprotected human contact during handling of healthcare waste has resulted in any kind of significant transmission of COVID-19 virus, but healthcare waste has always potential to produce during patient care, including the dealing with confirmed COVID-19 infections, should be considered to be infectious. The chances of infection is definitely there, especially the infections and sharp waste, pathological waste. So there should be a framework for collecting such waste and in safe manner. They should be clearly marked in lined containers and sharp safe boxes. Central Pollution Control Board of India has already recommended how to collect and store. There is specific requirements of yellow color double-layered bin bags, and which should be used for collecting COVID-19, any waste actually from COVID-19 isolation wards. And there has to be ensured that those bags have sufficient strength and no leaks. Used masks, gloves, and other households should be kept in paper bag for minimum 72 hours. So these are some of the guidelines directly came out from whatever the recent frameworks and strategy we have developed. All personal protective equipments like boots, long sleeve gloves, heavy duty gloves, masks, goggles, face shields, and whatever actually we need to use by our healthcare workers has to be treated properly, has to be handled in a proper way. The volume of infectious waste during this pandemic outbreak will be increased, especially the usage of PPE or the disposed PPE. Therefore, it's very important to increase capacity to handle and treat such biomedical waste. The additional waste management capacity, preferably through alternative treatment technologies, maybe it could be autoclaving or it could be high temperature burn incinerations, should be procured at all waste generation centers. It's not possible to procure at household, but definitely at the healthcare centers, these are quite essentials. And our strategy framework should guide us on how to achieve these things in a sustainable manner. So let's go to the next slide to focus on the textile waste, what Boni has spoken about actually. So Boni, I would like to share your thought process on this. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Anna. So just thinking about a few recommendations how to sort of reduce the impact of textile waste during COVID-19 and because of COVID-19. I want to talk about textile waste mostly because it is one of a kind of waste that sort of happen behind the scene. We don't necessarily see the direct impact. It's not like we would have disposed a whole bunch of clothes while we are stuck within our home during lockdown, but it is affecting the global supply chain and different waste management systems around the world. And through this, we really need to start to think about how to increase resilience within the global supply chain so that companies or manufacturers in developing countries that live on these type of industries, they would have a better negotiating power throughout the whole supply chain, and redesigning the whole fashion and garment industry to become a circular economy. So I think one way to do it would be to align the definitions of what's textile waste and how the recycling process should be done, because right now globally there's not that many definitions or aligned sort of statement on how textile waste should be treated and how it should be recycled. So that way, aligning the definitions would be a good way to start to make people become more aware of these waste that were created during not just during the pandemic, but also in the future. And one way to potentially do it is to localize production. Anna earlier talked about an on-demand service for waste management or waste collection, but can we also think about localized production or on-demand service for textile and garment? It could be something. From my personal knowledge, I know that there are companies in Europe that are doing that. So they're localizing their production and also making t-shirts on demand instead of making it from in batches, huge batches, so that they can minimize the amount of waste created per t-shirt. Also source raw materials for garment from regenerative sources. It is one of the biggest circular economy principle is to make sure that we don't put stress on our environment by using regenerative sources, using regenerative farming. So sourcing raw material from these sources would benefit our environment, nature environment in the future. And after all these sort of more of a physical side of the supply chain, redesigning the fashion and garment industry should have a goal in stopping labor exploitation. As I mentioned before, many workers and factories has been affected. They either lost their job or they have no income to support their families. And I'm sure you know better than I do about how there's human rights issues and how workers been affected in developing countries on their workers' right. So making sure that after the pandemic or starting from now, basically, we should think about how our supply chain should work in order to make sure that we reduce the amount of waste that we produce during the any situation and increase resilience, and also making sure that workers' rights are protected at the same time. And back to you.
Okay, thank you, Monia. So now we'll get into the strategy for the water quality management. It should be look like. So as I have as at the beginning actually discussed, that although there is no evidence today that the COVID-19 virus has been transmitted by uh, uh, drinking water systems or sewage systems with or without wastewater treatment, but the viral fragments have always been found in excreta. And because of other potential infectious disease, the risk from excreta wastewater is always there. So the facilities for wastewater treatment should be well designed and well managed, and there should be centralized wastewater treatment works at every country, and every urban government should think about. So protecting of source water, there should be a comprehensive water safety plan at urban level, at not just a national state level, but at city level. We need such plan actually, which will clearly talk about protecting source water, which could be surface water, which could be groundwater, and then treating water at the point of distribution, collection, and consumption. At all 3 points, treatment facilities should be there. And we have to ensure that the treated water is safely stored at home. And here come the responsibilities and awareness level of the citizens, that how we can store water safely at home, and how we can regularly clean and cover our containers. So more emphasis should be there on centralized wastewater treatment facility. As I have told you that even there is no evidence of COVID-19 virus being transmitted, but there are chances of other infectious diseases in the sewage. So therefore, the ensuring adequate stocks of chemical additives and consumable reagents for water quality testing will be required once we take our stock of the situation after this pandemic, that we have adequate supply stocks and manufacturing capacity for treating wastewater at such large scale. And similarly, the critical spare parts, fuels, availability of workers, there should be a contingency plan as well to ensure that the supply of safe drinking water is there. If you go to the next slide, I would like to emphasize on supplying, on keeping our water supply safe. There are several measures can improve actually as per the water safety is concerned. So those things should be emphasized on. The conventional centralized water treatment methods generally used are ultrafiltration. They utilize the filtration systems. Those things should be utilized. The disinfection has capacity actually to inactivate the COVID-19 virus, so we should adopt adequate disinfection systems. Other human contaminations, coronaviruses have been shown to be sensitive to chlorination and disinfection with ultraviolet light. So we should not forget about such treatment facilities. Effective centralized disinfection system is always an efficient way of doing that. In addition to effective water treatment, the water utility management systems should be adopted and as part of our broader water safety plan approach. And these measures should include that how the at household level actually and every institutional level, how effective water treatment technologies are used for removing or destroying viruses, which could be boiling or using at high performing ultrafiltrations or non-membrane filters. Solar eradication is also another way of doing it. There are a lot of non-turbine waters is there. So whether we can use UV irradiations and at appropriate dose level, which we can use or not, those kind of possibilities we need to explore. So there are certain best practices should come up from the urban strategy as far as dealing with ensuring an effective sanitation system is concerned. So definitely protecting health and sanitation workers is one of them by providing them adequate PPEs, educating them in hand hygiene systems, awareness on avoiding touching eyes, nose, mouth with unwashed hand when they're involved in this, the sanitation system work should be encouraged. People with suspected or confirmed COVID-19 disease should be provided with their own flush, toilets, or latrine systems. And if it is not possible to provide separate toilets for COVID-19 patients, then the toilets, the share of other non-COVID-19 patients should be cleaned on daily basis and disinfected on daily basis. Let's go to the next slide. Here I'll talk about some of the general recommendations which should come out from our urban environmental strategy to deal with post-pandemic situations. So definitely provision of safe water, safe sanitation systems, and hygienic condition is going to be the essential elements for protecting human health during all infection disease outbreak. Also, there should be the general awareness building program on water, sanitation, hygiene, and waste. So the UNICEF and WHO together, actually, they come up with this concept called WASH, WASH, which is basically the expansion of water, the abbreviation of water, sanitation, and hygiene, and waste. Risk and practices in communities, homes, schools, marketplace, healthcare facilities. That's how we actually can generate awareness to prevent human-to-human transmission and virus that causes COVID-19. And there are another important aspect nowadays coming up which related to safe management of dead bodies. So here I would like to talk about that in several cases we have seen that sometimes crematoriums are refusing to accept dead bodies, whether it's COVID-19 infected or not. We need some special strategy around that. Well, it has been proved actually. I mean, there are a lot of studies has been done by WHO, and it was found that the risk of transmission of COVID-19 from handling dead body of a deceased person is very, very low. And healthcare workers and others handling dead bodies definitely need to apply certain standards, precautions actually of all the times. There's no denying of the fact, despite of the risk is very low. So healthcare workers or mortuary staffs should be trained in preparing the body in a safe manner. They should, when they're engaged in preparing the body for cremation, they should know actually what kind of personal protective equipment they should wear. It could be scrub suit, it could be impermeable disposable gowns, or disposable gowns with impermeable apron, gloves, masks, preferably face shield, goggles, boots. Those PPE should be carefully removed after usage because there is a chance of contamination there. So after careful removal of those PPEs, there should be systems and facilities for decontamination and disposal as waste. So these are the information should be available with mortuary workers, and training should be provided to them. The body of a deceased person, if confirmed or suspected to have COVID-19, then that should be wrapped in cloths or fabric and should be transferred as soon as possible to the mortuary area from the home or from the hospitals. Body bags should not necessarily are not always necessary actually for COVID-19 virus, although if it is found useful, then can be used actually because there could be sometimes excessive body fluid leakage from the dead bodies. So these are the certain things very meticulously need to be incorporated in our urban environmental strategy. So these are actually the kind of thought process and recommendations from us that how an urban environment strategy should look like in a post-COVID situations, giving primary focus on waste, different kind of waste you're talking about, plastic waste, general solid waste, biomedical waste, and of course, the dead bodies which are coming out. There's special attention needed actually for the dead bodies. And the general access to clean water and sanitation systems should be essential elements of our post-pandemic urban environment strategy. So here I would like to pause, and if anybody has any questions or any comments, we can please get into that discussions. Can we go to the next slide? So I'd like to thank to all the dignitaries and participants, and both of us will be happy to answer your questions. If we cannot answer all the questions right now because of the limitation of time, we can take notes, and if the organizers can take notes and send us through email, we'll definitely get back to you in writing. Thank you again.
Sir has highlighted the national commitment to make environmental friendly strategies. He further stressed that our life depends on the life of environment. Thank you very much, sir and madam, for the informative and insightful talk. Hope sir has answered all the questions. If you have any other questions, we can take one or two questions. I request Sunil sir to moderate the interaction session.
We have received the many questions from the audience side. Since we have limitations in the time, we'll take one last question from the audience. This is the question from Mr. Dr. Ranga Nagaraj from Bidadi College. We have one question which he wanted to ask frequently. The question is, what are the strategies can we take to save the environment in high density area? I'm repeating the question. What are the strategies can we take to save the environment in high density area?
Yes. So as I have told you that whatever the strategy we define, the strategy should primarily focus on the waste management, because that is the most, from pandemic point of view, that is the most critical area. Now, in a high density area, the possibility of mixing of waste and difficulties, infrastructural difficulties in collection of waste or segregation of waste are most in high density area. Sometimes the people are using same facilities, shared facilities are used, that also increase the chances of contaminations. So here I would like to recommend that the special focus should be given on the awareness building programs for the people who are residing in high density areas, so that the generated waste at household level can be confined with limitations, actually, with limited contamination, with limited chances of contaminations, and the frequency of collections of waste from such areas has to be increased. So there probably we need to involve a lot of non-governmental organizations and other institutions, because government waste collection facilities may not have adequate capacity to collect waste in a less frequency from high density areas. So we need to think about how we can work on public-private partnerships, and we can partner with non-governmental organizations for both awareness buildings for the people who are residing in high-density areas, so the sorting and segregation of waste can be done at the point of generations to minimize chance of contamination, and transportation of waste from such area to the disposal facilities in a quickest turnaround time with the help of non-governmental organizations. This is what my opinion, actually. I mean, definitely I am not the person who writes strategies, but this will be this from my experience I would like to talk about.
Yeah,
Monia, do you have any comment?
Yeah. So thank you, Arnott, for talking a lot about how we can perform like collection and sort of treatment of waste in a safe and healthy way. But I think one really important thing to think about, especially in high density area, with waste management, we really want to think about avoidance and reduction. So trying to avoid and reduce the amount of waste generated at the beginning at source would really helps to lessen the burden on the downstream collection and treatment and recycling, especially the workers' health and hygiene issues. So I want to just point out that making sure that your consumption and every decision that you make would contribute to waste reduction in general, so that we can, even for people who live in high density area, we will be able to ease the pressure and burden on the whole system to make sure that we protect our waste management workers and everyone who has to deal with the waste in the later part of the supply stream. So yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you.
I think everyone got the very good information about that particular question, and especially for Dr. Ranganagraj. Geeta ma'am, I think we are done with the questions. We can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Arnab Basu sir and Bonia Ling madam, for answering the questions of the participant. Shri W.D. Ashok sir is unable to come live now because of technical problem. Hence, sir has sent a video just now of his presidential remarks. I request Sunil sir to play the video.
Everyone, today's webinar done by Seshadripuram Evening Degree College on the topic Urban Environment Strategies in Pandemic Period. The resource persons have given a wonderful topic, and at the same time they have done it in a very good fashionable manner. The resource person Arnab, the principal consultant, has given in detail, and at the same time Bonia Lang, consultant of waste policy management, has also given a tremendous idea about what infrastructure is needed and what during the pandemic has to be done. The highlights of the webinar seminar, according to the recent conditions, what the role of the government should be, what the role of an educational institution should be, what the role of NGOs and institutions and citizens are to be taken up in each individual cases. All the stakeholders in this type of concern, environment plays a different things according to circumstances and events. Environment plays an important concern to every individual. Apart from having environmental awareness, the pandemic has given us a different idea what actually it is and what should be followed either. With serial distancing and using of masks, the conditions have totally changed in our daily routine work. At the same time, it becomes very necessary that we analyze how the city design impacts our health, social mobility and disease control at the same time, among other things, and how in the coming months India's dense cities need to adopt also will be very important, and how the management from the government and citizens are taken up also will be very important. So keeping environment in mind and how the environment conditions have happened in these conditions of COVID, the authors have given or the speakers have told a wonderful thing which can be followed. With this, I thank the Evening Degree College to have done this webinar, and thanks one and all. Thank you. Good.
Thank you very much, sir, for the presidential remark. I request convener Mr. Mitra to render vote of thanks.
It is my proud privilege to propose vote of thanks as the convener of Nisarga Mitra, the Eco Club of our college, for this international webinar. At the outset, I thank Environmental Resources Management for associating with us for the international webinar. I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to today's keynote speakers, Arnab Basu, ERM India, and Bonia Leung, ERM Hong Kong. Thank you very much, sir and madam, for making this international webinar a grand success. I am humbled and grateful to you both for your humble gestures. In his absentia, I take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thanks to Dr. O.D.P. Krishna Sir, Honorary General Secretary, Seshadripuram Educational Trust. As usual, we are touched by your words of wisdom, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I express our heartfelt thanks to W.D. Ashok Sir, Honorary Trustee, Seshadripuram Educational Trust. We are indebted for your perpetual support for all our programs. Thank you, sir, for your presidential remarks. In his absentia, I thank Professor C.L. Basavarajaya, sir, Chairman, Governing Council, SCDC, and I thank all the office bearers and trustees of Seshadripuram Educational Trust. My special thanks to our beloved, vigorous, dynamic Principal Professor N.S. Satish, sir, who is the strength of our Seshadripuram Evening Degree College. I'd like to thank Rajat B.S., Head, Department of Commerce, Sunil Kumarji, Coordinator IQAC, who have technically helped us to materialize this webinar. I express our gratitude to all the principals of our sister institutions and other colleges, academicians, research scholars, students, and foreign delegates for participating in this webinar. We will ever remain grateful to our teaching and administrative staff for their support. Thanks a lot. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Darappa Konur sir. Very shortly, we will meet in one more international webinar of Evening College. Immediately, we will send the link of feedback form. Kindly fill the same and send back for e-certificate. Once again, thank you one and all. Now we conclude the webinar.
Thank you, Arnab sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
I will phone my